Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, Ann Silver. She's the president and CEO of the Chamber, which represents Reno Sparks. She's got some interesting thoughts on immigration, quite controversial. She's here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers. 40 years ago, Hotel California and the theme from Rocky were #1 on the pop charts, and D&D Roofing and Sheet Metal started on the road to becoming Nevada's leading roofing company.
I couldn't be more proud of what we've achieved.
And over these 40 years, we've become an employee-owned company. So when you're talking to any employee, you're talking to an owner.
And here's to the next 40 years.
Happy 40th birthday, D&D Roofing and Sheet Metal.
Retail's impact on Nevada's economy? Enormous. 8,600 businesses, large and small, employing 145,000 workers. And last fiscal year, retail paid tax on nearly $60 billion in sales. We're the Retail Association of Nevada. We support retail, we help it grow, and we mean business.
RANNV.org.
Pro Group Management offers workers' comp services to a growing number of industries. As businesses grow and change with the times, the need for a solid workers' comp program must be flexible and up to date. The evolving nature of regulations can make staying ahead of complex tasks challenging. But Pro Group Management simplifies the work so your industry can move forward and succeed. Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Truck drivers are some of the hardest working people you'll meet, delivering over 70% of America's freight and 92% of Nevada's. When there's a natural disaster, they're delivering critical supplies to help those communities recover and rebuild. Every sector of the economy and our nation's military rely on truck drivers. So let's take a moment to say thank you. On the open road or city streets, our truck drivers are rolling to make our economy and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're delighted to welcome back to the program Ann Silver. She's the president and CEO of the Chamber, which represents Reno Sparks. Pleasure to have you back on the program.
Thank you so much, Sam.
One of the things that triggered me to want to talk to you was a column you wrote recently for the Northern Nevada business paper, where you were talking about infrastructure. Mm-hmm. And this is a concern, I think, to a lot of us that, you know, we have this tremendous growth,
yes,
but now we are starting to see the problems backing up. What are your biggest concerns regarding infrastructure?
Well, my biggest concerns have everything to do with business and our members, certainly. And if you can't travel efficiently and effectively to either your workplace or a place you're choosing to buy goods, it makes it that much more difficult. And we're spreading out, you know, suburban sprawl is occurring, and I don't think our transit needs have kept up to speed.
One of the things that I personally find irritating is that we're seeing wide roads being restriped for single lanes. For example, I'm sorry for the folks in Southern Nevada who are listening, but we have a main intersection that comes off of the airport, Plum Lane. And at this point, they have restriped that now to be single lanes with bike lanes. This is one of the busiest streets in town. What is the thinking?
You know, I don't know. I've asked, and certainly we're most concerned. I mean, there are so many examples of how things could go wrong. Imagine an emergency at the airport and needing to evacuate, and the single lane methodology doesn't make sense. Or increasing air travel, which the airport's doing a great job of, and bringing more flights to Nevada, to and from our state, and people trying to exit or enter the airport. It makes no sense. Why would we constrict that area when it should be free-flowing and large in size and create an ease of access to the airport?
You and I both came from big cities to Reno, and so we understand that public transportation has to play a bigger role in a city's life. And so seeing Virginia Street being converted into what will be an express bus system, if the frequency is every 10 minutes or so, that makes a lot of sense. For these major arteries that are side roads, that's never going to happen.
Well, you know, coming from New York City, where I took a subway everywhere, never even owned a car, I'm shocked at when I see the lack of ridership, and I think RTC is doing its best to create electric buses and move things along, but your average individual does not work along Virginia Street. And when you look at Trick and the growth out at Panasonic and Tesla, those individuals are sitting in traffic for a long time, and you have an accident and it's tied up all morning. And in an effort to recruit and retain individuals out there, you know, you wonder if Nevadans who are not accustomed to hour-and-a-half commutes are going to continue to be willing to mimic LA or Sacramento and say, I'll sit in my car 3 hours a day. That's a very different mindset for Nevadans.
True, but for those that are coming in from California, in a lot of ways, those are not long commutes.
No, I've heard you say that.
Yeah, and if they're sitting on a bus,
sure,
then, you know, and they're able to do work at the same time,
sure,
or recreate, that may be a more pleasant way to travel. You heard the show I did with Abby Whitaker.
Yes.
One of the things I raised, I believe, in that show was with the lack of Senator Reid now in terms of helping us with infrastructure, and no discredit to our current senators, but it's just the longevity that he had enabled him to be able to do a lot of things to benefit the airports, the roads, etc. Where do you see the money coming from to widen I-80? Because that is going to need to happen, otherwise we're going to have a heck of a constriction.
Well, I don't think any of us want to be on the LA freeway every day. And regardless of, I think Abby's comment was she'd rather be in a car. And of course, we have access to Sirius Radio and all sorts of opportunities in our car to entertain ourselves. Nevertheless, people's time is precious. And unless Congress, which is slightly distracted right now, focuses on, I think, focuses on something as important as infrastructure funding, states can't raise the revenue. We can't do everything. And I think Congress is responsible for envisioning a larger pathway to work and to people's homes that enables individuals to spend less time on the road and more time either working or with their family or pursuing exercise or whatever it might be. But Congress has failed to focus on an infrastructure policy and the BUILD program and other opportunities to fund states that are in desperate need of infrastructure rebuilding, and Nevada's one of them.
And there's kind of an irony here, because the president said from day one that infrastructure was going to be one of his big efforts.
Absolutely.
Did you get any feedback from D.C. in your recent trip there, from the congressional delegation about any kind of infrastructure bill moving forward?
Well, I haven't been back to D.C. recently, but I do have the opportunity to speak to our congressional representatives frequently. For instance, Catherine Cortez Masto was at the Chamber office just 2 weeks ago, and she said that infrastructure funding remains a critical priority. But I think when you look at the current temperature in Washington, all eyes are on other issues. And so I think we're asking our congressional representatives and those across the country to step up, put your big boy pants on, work past these bipartisan or political issues, and in a bipartisan way, focus on things that matter tremendously to most Americans.
Yeah, it just seems to be that, you know, at this point, I was talking to my wife last night as we were watching 60 Minutes, and they had a major piece on all that's going on.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know, for a lot of people in Congress, this is like, well, this is great. We don't actually have to do anything important before the next election cycle because all the attention is going to be on this. And what an incredible waste of 535 people's time.
You know, I do believe in due process. As an attorney, I think the president is entitled to that. The American public is entitled to that. But I think we're all multitaskers. And it would seem to me that in addition to an inquiry or an investigation or whatever congressional committees need to go on, they're still responsible for running this country and making public policy that matters to each of us. And when I'm sitting in a car every day on Interstate 80, or I'm trying to get out on 395 at 5 o'clock to get to Truckee Meadows Community College, I'm backed up, you know, and thinking ahead of time, how far in advance do I have to leave my office? And the irony is we're in a state that boasts millions of acres of public land, and if you drive from Reno to Las Vegas, you look out at the terrain and think, why can't we shove some people this way and free up our roads? But we're becoming a large city, And with a large city come big city ideas. And I think infrastructure is a #1 concern for all of us.
Abby brought up something that hasn't been really raised in the press recently, but sewer capacity is coming to a max.
Absolutely. I mean, look at a community that, when I first moved here, there were 50,000 people in Reno. And I'm not suggesting that everyone should get an acre and a mule or needs 3-car garages and property enough for horses. But I think many of us, particularly those of us who've moved from elsewhere, and as a New Yorker who made a conscious decision to live in the West where I could see the stars at night and see the mountains and the landscape, I'm not sure that we're cognizant of water issues and sewer capacity issues and things that are beginning to impact us as a city. And I don't know if we're prepared to accept the mentality of a large city. We want both. We want the infrastructure and the pleasures of the culture that comes with the city and dining options. And I was just at the Philharmonic last night, and you think, wow, isn't this wonderful? And yet you're caught in a traffic jam getting off Virginia Street and thinking, we're really not yet prepared.
Okay, so what do you mean by mentality of a big city?
Well, I think we want both. We want growth. We want economic development. We like a robust, sustainable economy. Certainly the members of the chamber are experiencing that. But with that comes the understanding that you need rapid transit. You need buses that operate frequently. You probably need more electric vehicles so we don't create more and more environmental pollution. We may need subways someday. We need bridge overpasses. We need the kinds of things that, coming from a city, I was accustomed to seeing and expecting in order to facilitate my transportation to and from work.
All right, so that leads to the obvious question, which
Yes.
is who's going to pay for that?
Well, ideally, we are all taxpayers, and a lot of our money is set aside for public transportation and an infrastructure bill that I don't think requires more money. It requires redeployment of the resources. And Congress right now is at a stalemate with an administration that's looking to pull back money on infrastructure. And I think we have to pound the table and say, no, growth and economic efficiency and people getting to work every day, and most of us do have to commute every day, depends on congressional action. And so I point to Washington, D.C. and say, do your jobs.
All right, let's take a break. More with Ann Silver when we come back.
Tamarack Junction is South Reno's hotspot with over 450 of the latest slots and video games. Sully's Sports Bar, the Dining Car Restaurant, William Hill Sportsbook, and the Tamarack Steakhouse and Lounge. We're just north of the Summit Mall in South Virginia. Yeah.
Ahern Rentals began as Signal Gas Station on Las Vegas Boulevard. Founder John Ahern grew the business by offering rentals. His son Don built on John's legacy, growing Ahern Rentals into the largest independently owned American rental company, with 89 locations in 30 states. Don also brought his experience and vision to equipment manufacturing with Extreme Manufacturing and Snorkel. Today, Ahern Rentals continues to bring its family values to a new generation. Learn more at ahern.com.
Hi, I'm Eric Robnett, owner of Home Energy Experts. Has this ever happened to you?
Honey, did you remember to turn down the thermostat?
Forgetting to set the temperature? Not fun. We can help. Our new smart thermostat keeps the temperature set for your comfort all by itself.
I'm feeling hot now.
To increase your comfort, go to homeenergyexperts.com for details. That's homeenergyexperts.com.
The signs and symptoms of cataracts can start out small with subtle changes in your vision. So don't wait. Be proactive and take your vision into your own hands. If you're experiencing the onset of cataracts or just have questions, contact your eye care professional or call Eye Care Associates of Nevada today. Dr. Hiss has years of experience specializing in the surgical correction of eye disorders and has completed over 84,000 vision correcting procedures. At Eye Care Associates of Nevada, we'll change the way you look at the world.
The Tamarack Junction Steakhouse is known for signature steaks, handcrafted cocktails, and world-class wines. Join us Thursdays and Friday nights from 4:30 to 6:30 in the Steakhouse Lounge for live music, gourmet plates, and well-priced wines, just north of the Summit Mall on South Virginia.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
president and CEO of the Chamber, which represents Reno and Sparks. So you're talking about growth, you're talking about all kinds of expansion, which is great. I am obviously very pro-growth. But part of the problem now, if we get all these things that you're hoping for, who's going to do the work? Because the unemployment rate is well below 4% at this point in time, and that's virtually zero unemployment. And so with an immigration policy that is restraining people from coming to the country, where do we go with that?
Well, this may sound rather controversial, and I'm not old enough to remember the WPA, but I think if we got around to what we're all counting on, which is some sort of immigration reform, you could let in thousands and thousands of people who are required to work on public projects and enable them to help us with our roads and mass transit and byways and highways and bridges, and put everybody to work to get this done. Because you're right, Nevada's at virtually zero unemployment, and those who are unemployed have either chosen to be or are for some reason unable to work. So we need people to come in here to do what has to be done. And I say bring in a certain number of people, provide them with work visas, and say get to it. You're all skilled craftsmen for the most part, you've worked before, let's put you on task.
All right, so when you talk to the congressional delegation, what is their response to that? Because, well, I mean, I hate to say it, but that's common sense, Ann.
Yeah, I think it's getting to be kind of a ridiculous conversation to hope that people have common sense and can think rationally about immigration. I think we know that people want desperately to be in this country, and I'm not suggesting that illegal behavior is appropriate. But I do think there's a way of progressing to immigration reform that allows thousands of individuals who are interested in working to come here and create what mimics perhaps the public works projects of many, many years ago, and get these folks to help us build our country. They would like to be here. They would like to be self-sustaining individuals. Let's make sure they pay their taxes, they get registered to work, and they begin all this infrastructure work that we can't find people to do.
And you know, the irony here is that people who come to this country and are either illegal or out of status, and more people, by the way, come in through the border.
Absolutely.
Border control points like ports of entry than come across the Canadian or the Mexican border.
Right.
And you know, there's been no way to get these people legalized since 1986, and even then that took care of people, I think, into the early 80s, not to 1986.
And then it stopped. And I think we get to the task of recognizing human beings who have this tremendous desire to be here and presumably understand they need to work to support their families. And so let's create the projects for them. They're sitting here ready to be attended to. And we don't have the population in numbers or desire that want to work on roads and bridges and tunnels.
Or ability.
And many of these individuals are quite accustomed to working and working hard and working long hours. Many of them don't work under the same labor laws or protections that our country has. So let's afford them that, and let's bring them in record numbers and get our infrastructure redone.
And one point I wanted to add, which is that, for example, when we legalized people who are out of status to get driver's license, the majority of them had insurance.
Absolutely.
People who are in this country out of status want to comply with paying taxes because they don't want to get caught for anything that could throw them out of the country. So in some ways they may be more legal than some of the rest of us.
Well, I don't think we give credit to the incredible desire and commitment. I certainly, struggle with a 5-mile hike. When you take a look at the distances crossed by people with young children on their backs. Once again, I am not advocating for illegal immigration, but I think there's a process by which we recognize their passion, their commitment, their drive, their determination. We're talking more than a 5-mile hike to get here.
Well, maybe the phrase comprehensive immigration reform, unfortunately at this point, is the wrong one to utilize, because with the unemployment situation the way it is, with the fact that we need 16 workers for every person who's on Social Security or Medicare to support them, perhaps we need to open this up and go to different areas.
Sure.
It's, as you know, one of the most complex and difficult issues that the country deals with.
Well, but we're capable of thinking through complex problems. That's our history. And I think we've taken a bye, and we can't continue to do that. I understand that Congress has a lot on its mind and a lot on its plate, but we elect these individuals to solve these issues. And if they're not going to, then we should get a roundtable of people who will and send them our suggestions and say, here, we've figured it out. I mean, most of us sit watching the news at night and come up with one response that may not be overly critical, but may be constructive. And we say, you know what, if I were president or I were Congress, this is what I would do. So I am all for public discourse, even if it's difficult, to say, here's what must occur. We need to phone that in and write it in to our congressional representatives. We need to travel to Washington, as the chamber does, in delegation format, and we will again in April, to say, here are logical ideas. We don't say they're simple, but we say they require extensive conversation and then a will to get them done. And whether it's called comprehensive immigration reform or people get upset when they talk about immigration, let's talk about what it takes to get workforce development, boots on the ground, to create the infrastructure this country so much needs.
And you know, the interesting part about what you're saying is a change in the marketing strategy.
Exactly.
Because we can't,
about it differently.
yeah, we can't sell it as immigration reform. We haven't been able to do that for 40 years. But perhaps if we can do it in a way that people will understand it benefits all of us, then maybe we can get something done.
International workforce development, something along those lines.
I think you're hitting on something. We'll be right back.
Dimitri Prine here for Design Outdoor. Come visit Design Outdoor's store and backyard to see our wide selection of fire pits, barbecues, and pizza ovens, natural stone water features and fountains, and frost-proof pottery. Our store and backyard are located at 11600 South Virginia, just north of DeMonte Ranch Parkway. Visit designoutdoor.com or call us at 851-9499.
Can't do it. Stupid, like my mom.
We can't do anything at Mommy's because you won't pay child support.
Dad said you cheated, and he's not even sure he's my dad.
Mommy said you left both of us, so she isn't gonna let me see you. I look just like my father.
I'm divorce attorney Marilyn York, and I may represent men, but hate has no gender, only casualties. Please, stop sacrificing your children in your war against your ex.
Hi, I'm Dave Newman. Remember me? I used to be the house detective, and now I'm a realtor, full-time at RE/MAX Realty Affiliates. A lot of people ask me, how's the market? You know what? It's fantastic. If you're even kicking around the idea of buying or selling, give me a call. Let's talk about it. Call me at RE/MAX Realty Affiliates and just ask for the guy who used to be the house detective, Dave Newman.
Everyone is talking about opioids, but they're not the only drugs that can be harmful if taken in large quantities or not as prescribed. You also need to be aware of side effects from anxiety drugs, muscle relaxants, sleep aids, and stimulants. Mixing prescription drugs with other drugs or alcohol can be dangerous. If you take Ambien with a glass of wine, it may be enough to stop you from breathing. Prescribed drugs can be just as dangerous as illegal drugs. Take medications only as directed.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Ann Silver. She's the president and CEO of the Chamber, which is the Reno-Sparks Chamber of Commerce. As you look at the growth that's currently occurring in Reno, and it's incredible, just incredible. You know, when I first came to Reno in 1978, I never dreamed that you would have, for example, a 4,000-room hotel casino in downtown Reno. I mean, even Kirk Kerkorian, who was the big dreamer, only went for 2,000, didn't go for 4,000. As has been discussed, we're looking to see if we can start shifting the companies that are coming here to higher wage companies. Do you have any concerns about how we have do we have a soft landing, or does this just keep going?
Well, first of all, from the Chamber's perspective, and we're experiencing double-digit growth in new membership. We'll hit 2,000 members by the end of the year. We're seeing small companies moving here. You have a retiree population from California that's finding it much more affordable to live here. You're finding young people who have chosen not to go a corporate route and say, I have a passion and a dream and I'm going to start a cheese company or a bar or a bakery. And we see small businesses proliferating across this community, 30, 40 a month that are joining the chamber. And I think their wages are probably less than Tesla's and less than Panasonic's, but people can ride their bike to work or walk to work and not commute 60 miles a day and not work standing on a factory floor. So as much as I admire Panasonic and Tesla, these are members of the chamber, I also point out to them all the time, small businesses are where all their employees are relying on for their goods and services. Nobody drives out to Tesla to buy a battery, but we all go get our hair cut or our nails done or need to go to buy baked goods or go to the pharmacy, and all those businesses make up the quality of life that make it possible for the Teslas and the Panasonics to move out into the desert and find people to work there who generally commute to more urban populations in order to live their lives. So I'm not sure everyone can pay $18, $19 an hour. I'm pleased to see minimum wage going up. The chamber in no way attempted to negate that. We are all in favor of it. But I don't see small businesses capable of meeting $19, $20 an hour wages, not anytime soon.
No, and I agree, and that's where we have to leave it. Pleasure to have you on the program.
Thank you so much, Sam.
Thank you for your thoughts. We do appreciate it, and we'll be right back.
A bird's eye captures its surroundings at different heights. At Brian Culpa Photography, we can make your imagination soar over buildings, parks, cityscapes, and beyond. Brian's images tell the story and get the job done. If you need a new perspective to tell your story, contact Brian today. Brian Culpa Photography. Experience the bird's eye view at brianculpaphotography.com.
Hi, my name's Marilyn Miner, and I'm sure you'd agree that Nevada's a very special place to live. I was born here, and my husband and I have raised our family here. I feel it's a privilege to live and work in the Truckee Meadows. I especially enjoy helping my clients reach their real estate goals. Sometimes the smallest details provide the greatest satisfaction. I'd be complimented to talk to you about your next move.
Call Marilyn Miner at Dixon Realty, 742-1280, or log on to marilynminer.com.
St. Ives Florist, for every holiday and every special occasion. For romance. Custom home design. We have the largest selection of fresh flowers in northern Nevada. And we also offer a large selection of unique gift items. Come see me, Lorianne, at St. Ives Florist, 700 South Wells Avenue, or call me at 333-9190.
Pro Group Management specializes in providing industries with the necessary components to satisfy and exceed workers' comp requirements. Every business has unique needs and specific regulations. Pro Group Management stays ahead of the curve, providing up-to-date services to keep your industry in top form. Discover how we simplify your tasks, improve efficiency, and reduce expense to keep you moving in a positive direction. Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
As always, you can watch Nevada Newsmakers 24 hours a day at NevadaNewsmakers.com. We'll see you on the next show.